Hi, today I'm going to be making chicken confetti. It's really good. I'm going to take first 2 cups of spaghetti, which I have already added a little bit of broth to them because I want them to start kind of softening up a little bit because you don't cook them before you use them. And so I'm just going to put them in there. Then I'm going to add my 2 cups of chicken broth. Now I use my home canned chicken broth, so use whatever you have. And then I'm going to add in 2 cups of chicken, diced up. You can use chicken, you can use turkey, use whichever one you have on hand. I really like this recipe. So simple, so easy to make. Then you add a half of a medium-sized onion. Lay that half over there for something else. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a hard time finding good onions right now. I like Vidalia onions, but I can't find those anyway. But I do with what I have. Okay. I'm not sure how I'm going to cut this. I think I'm going to go this way. My dad would say, make up your mind, sis. My dad liked this. I don't think there's too many things Daddy didn't like. He never complained about food. He just never ever complained. They didn't have a lot to eat back when he was growing up. But he never complained, my grandma said. Put it on the table and they ate it. Boy, the kids don't do that today. Which I don't think my daddy ever complained about much of anything. He's a hard-working man. Little bitty guy, but worked like a giant. You know, when we lived in St. Mary's, he worked for Schultz Construction Company. And Howard Schultz was a nice guy. He worked for him, and he was really a nice guy. And he's always playing tricks on you. And Daddy was a trickster too. He would always play tricks on people. One day they were putting a roof on a house. And Daddy would tell Howard, that was his boss, Mr. Schultz, buy smaller shoes. You're going to trip up on that roof someday and fall off of it. Nah, they feel good like this. But one day they were up there and they had the electric nailer and he was down on his knees nailing, and Daddy came along behind him, they said. Dad had said he was going to do this. He had been saying for a long time he was going to do this first chance he got. And they came behind him and, oh my goodness, he was down on his knees, and you know, when you're on your knees, if your shoes don't fit, they're going to slide off of you backwards. Well, they did. They were slid down in the back, and they weren't fastened tight to him. His feet were out of them in the back, and shoes were tied on the roof. And they got a little bit tighter too. Daddy walked around behind him and went with the nailer. He didn't pay any attention to it, didn't really notice it. When Dad did it, Dad nailed his shoe to the roof. The guys were all standing there watching, waiting, because they wanted to make sure, you know, that he didn't fall or anything when he started to leave. Well, he started to walk away. Of course, he couldn't walk, and he kind of fell backwards. A couple of the guys were standing there, and they caught him. And he yelled, "Cecil!" That was Daddy's name. Well, he didn't say Cecil. He said, "Cece, where you at?" He says, "I know you did that. I'm going to kill you." And everybody just laughed. Daddy said, "I'm over here." He said, "You may be over there now, but you were over here when this happened." And Dad says, "I told you to buy smaller shoes." But I told him, I said, "You're going to get in trouble for that," which he didn't. They were always doing something silly. I'm adding a little salt and pepper, maybe more pepper than salt, to this. And then I'm going to add a small can of mushrooms. Now, I don't like to get a big old hunk of mushroom out when I'm biting into it. So I kind of cut them up. I just take my scissors and go like this. I could put them on my cutting board and chop them up, but this is just as easy. Matter of fact, I think it's easier. And then you don't get a big old bite at one time, and it goes through all of it. But Daddy was always playing tricks on people. They were playing tricks on him. I know, like I said, we lived in St. Mary's, and there was a jewelry store over there that had burnt, and they wanted to rebuild it, and they couldn't because it was on the river, and the foundation was down in the river, and well, they didn't have all the equipment that they have today to go down and set the forms and stuff underwater. And Daddy told Schultz that, he says, "Hey, Howard, no problem, I can do that." He said, "How can you do that?" He said, "You got to go into water." I'm going to add about a half a cup, maybe, of cheese. That looks like about a half a cup, I think, in there now. And Daddy says, "Well, I can't swim above water. Don't ask me why, but I can't." He says, "I can swim underwater. I can swim like a fish." He says, "But I can't swim I'm going to have to get a heavier spoon. But I can't swim on top of water." He says, "But I can hold my breath and go down there off and on, and I can set them forms." And Howard says, "Well, if anybody can, you can." And so Daddy did. He went down there and he set those forms, and everything worked out real good. So I said, I don't know about anything my daddy couldn't do. From teaching me how to make a pie crust to setting forms underwater. He's the best daddy in the world. I know we probably all say that about our fathers, but I had a wonderful father. He taught me a lot. He taught me how to cook. taught me a lot about the cooking. I'd stand up on a chair and he'd teach me things, and taught me how to build a house. I was the first woman in the town we lived in that had a contractor's license. We wanted to build a new house, and Dad says, well, you can do it. I said, I don't know if I can. Dad says, don't you ever say you can't. That's a word you don't use. And he says, I'll help. So we got busy, and Daddy helped us. And we built a house. And I can't do the finished electrical work, stuff like that. I can do plumbing, and I can do the building part, and I can't today, but back, I'd say about 15 years ago maybe, I could roof a house faster than most of the men. And my daddy taught me how to do that. I could carry the shingles up on the roof, and that's why my back's like it is. And I could roof it. Now I'm going to put about two cups of cheese on top of this. I started to say shingles. It's great to remember things about your parents. At least I think it is. It's sad when you don't have good families. I had a wonderful father and mother. So now I'm going to set this in the oven for about 40 minutes. And well, between 40 minutes and an hour at 350. And when it gets done, then I'll bring you all back, let you see it. Okay, I've taken it out of the oven. Oh, it smells so good. I can smell that onion in there, and the cheese looks so good on it. It's really, really hot. But I'm going to try it anyway. And you know you put the spaghetti in it. So we got to get down in there and get some of that spaghetti. That was something my dad loved, was spaghetti. It's hot. Why do you always have to taste it as soon as it comes out of the oven? I don't know. It just seems like you do. Beautiful, beautiful. This would be a nice dish for company. Casserole for carry-in or something. Can't let that get away. Now I had it in the oven about 40 minutes, 45. That cheese just, you know, you put a half a cup inside of it as you're doing it, and then you add a little bit on top. I added about a cupful on top. So there you go. Doesn't that look wonderful? Okay. That's a keeper. That is definitely a keeper. I hope you'll all try that. That's a good carry-in casserole too. I think you could double that recipe because it only comes up not even quite halfway on my 9 by 13, 12 by 13 dish. So I'll have the recipe posted down below, and have any questions, just let us know and we'll get right back with you. And I hope you'll all try it because I'm telling you, you're going to love it. So thank you bunches, and have another one real soon.